A young woman, disheartened by her past relationship, unexpectedly kisses a stranger, unaware that he is a wealthy millionaire. What he did next will astonish you. Before we dive into the tale, please share a comment and let us know your location. Delight in the narrative. Lucy Cooper's day had begun on a rather unfortunate note. Initially, her breakfast was spoiled by a wild pigeon. Then, her quirky boss had her redo an entire article due to misplaced commas, when in truth, it was merely a smudge on her boss's glasses. However, there is nothing. It was a stark contrast to spot her former partner in that upscale jewelry shop, selecting an engagement ring. "Oh no," she whispered, attempting to conceal herself behind a necklace display. Yet, the moment had passed. Ryan Carter, the same individual who ended things with her 3 months prior, claiming that relationships are merely a snare of the capitalist system, stood there, grasping the hand of an astonishingly beautiful woman and sliding a lavishly expensive ring onto her finger. "What do you think of this one, my dear?" he inquired with a gentle tone that Lucy had never encountered before. Her stomach twisted in knots. The woman let out a sugary giggle, showing off a diamond the size of a satellite. "It's absolutely stunning, my dear. I am eagerly anticipating my future as Mrs. Carter." Lucy almost lost her balance. She had officially reached a breaking point. And to add to the misery, Ryan caught sight of her. For a brief moment, Lucy experienced the sensation that her very essence had detached from her physical form. She longed for the earth to simply engulf her entirely. Ryan regarded her with a self-satisfied grin that seemed to declare, "I was the first to move on." "Is that you, Lucy?" "Excellent." She mustered a smile, pivoted deliberately, and locked eyes with Ryan's astonished expression. "Ryan," she declared, feigning excitement. "Wow, what a surprising and completely unawkward revelation. Are you still residing here?" he inquired, arching an eyebrow, as though she were an artifact from a bygone era that ought to have disappeared by this time. "And you continue to draw breath?" Lucy retorted, her arms crossed defiantly. Samantha emitted a faint chuckle, wrapping her arm around Ryan's with a sense of ownership. "Oh my, Lucy, you look just as you always have," she remarked with a touch of over-the-top charm. "It feels as though time stands still, doesn't it?" Lucy sensed a tempest of fury brewing within her mind. "Your appearance seems increasingly synthetic. What transpired? Has your Instagram filter spilled over into reality?" Samantha tightened her jaw, a silent storm brewing within her. Ryan cleared his throat, attempting to bring the passive-aggressive standoff to a close. "So, are you seeing someone special?" Lucy stood still, her body rigid. "Beg your pardon?" He was genuinely curious about her relationship status. Was he attempting to validate his triumph? As if she were still in her room, tears streaming down her face, indulging in ice cream while the soulful melodies of Adele played in the background? And to make matters worse, Samantha leaned in with a self-satisfied grin. "Oh, Lucy, you're not in a relationship, are you? Rest assured, there's still an opportunity ahead. Love can blossom for some even after the age of 40. That was the end. Her patience had run out. Just as Lucy was about to respond, she was unexpectedly enveloped by a firm arm around her shoulders. "Hello, darling." Lucy stood still. The rich, calming, and effortlessly smooth voice whispered softly beside her ear. Before her mind could fully grasp the situation, she sensed a warm hand gently placed on her shoulder, holding her with such ease that it felt as though they were truly a couple. "Apologies for my tardiness, darling. Have you been waiting for a while?" Ryan and Samantha's faces drained of color. Lucy acted without a second thought. She simply performed. Before reason had a chance to step in, she spun around and pressed her lips against his. The kiss was impulsive and daring. A fervent kiss. A kiss solely for the sake of existence. What's even more frustrating? She felt the warmth of the stranger's kiss against her lips. Not with astonishment, but with complete serenity. Lucy perceived the sharp intake of breath from Samantha and noticed the tension in Ryan's jaw. Flawless. Objective achieved. As she finally withdrew, Lucy faced them with a self-satisfied, knowing smile. Could you remind me what your question was? Ryan appeared as though he had just gulped down a frog. Samantha clutched his arm tightly, as if she were on the brink of bursting with emotion. And then, as if the turmoil Lucy had just unleashed wasn't sufficient, the stranger escalated the situation even more. "Shall we depart, my dear?" he remarked, a mischievous grin dancing across his face. "We still have to choose that wedding ring." Lucy almost gasped for breath. Who is this person? Marriage celebration? Before she had a chance to respond, he was already guiding her away. In that instant, she understood the gravity of the colossal error she had just committed. She hadn't merely kissed an unfamiliar face. She had pressed her lips against Nicholas Scott, the richest, most influential, and most unreachable billionaire in the city. And to make matters worse, he appeared to be relishing it. Lucy had encountered numerous missteps throughout her journey. Coloring her hair green during her teenage years. Purchasing snug footwear solely due to a discount. Sending tipsy messages to her former partner. However, locking lips with a complete unknown in the heart of a shopping center. A new record has been set. And now, she found herself in the clutches of her captor. Perhaps, kidnapped, was a bit of an overstatement, but Nicholas Scott was dragging her through the mall as if they were old friends. Lucy attempted to brush off the attention of onlookers. Naturally, their gazes were fixed. He possessed an absurd level of charm, while she sported a t-shirt featuring an irate unicorn. The disparity between them was so ridiculous that one might assume he had employed her merely as a background figure. Hold on. Lucy anchored herself to the earth, compelling him to halt. What just occurred? Nicholas tilted his head, a glimmer of amusement in his eyes. It seems that you kissed me. And you returned my kiss. Naturally, it would have been impolite to do otherwise. Lucy blinked, her eyes momentarily wide with surprise. Impolite? You say that as if it's a wedding toast, he smirked. Was it not? It certainly was not. We must focus on enhancing our performance. Lucy sensed her essence drifting away from her physical form. For the sake of all that is holy, who are you? Nicholas arched an eyebrow. Are you truly unaware? Lucy scowled. Is it advisable for me to proceed? This is truly captivating. This is absolutely chilling. Nicholas offered a vexing little grin. There's no need for gratitude regarding the rescue. Lucy gazed at him, her expression one of utter disbelief. Salvation? I did not request assistance. Your former partner was handling you like a tattered, discarded item. Did you genuinely expect me to simply remain in place? Lucy parted her lips. Oh no. He made a valid observation. However, she had no intention of acknowledging that. Excellent. Having completed your noble act, we can now proceed with our lives. Nicholas arched an eyebrow. Isn't a simple thank you too much to ask? Should I send you a card that expresses my gratitude for adding more complexity to my life? Nicholas wore a sly grin. A dinner will suffice. Lucy opened her eyes wide. What do you mean? Dinner is on you, my friend. She released a laugh filled with disbelief. Do I owe you something? You were the one who kissed me. In a moment of spontaneity. Let's refer to it as a compensatory impulse, shall we? Lucy folded her arms across her chest. What if I choose to decline? Nicholas gave a slight shrug. I'll let your former partner know that we're deeply in love. Lucy gasped, struggling to catch her breath. Surely, you wouldn't consider it. Care to challenge me? Lucy closed her eyes, searching for a solution to escape this predicament. Regrettably, she was unable to locate one. All right. A single dinner. Nicholas beamed. Flawless. I will collect you at 8 o'clock. Lucy directed a finger toward him. If this is part of some elaborate scheme involving a billionaire and human sacrifice, I demand legal representation. Nicholas let out a soft laugh. You will make it through. Lucy had her doubts about that. After a long stretch of time, Lucy found herself gazing at her image in the bathroom mirror. What am I up to? She was on the verge of sharing a meal with the man she had kissed, completely unaware of his identity. This was not a date. This was a plea for healing. With no escape in sight, Lucy clutched her purse and steeled herself to confront what lay ahead. The restaurant exuded such elegance that Lucy felt as though she ought to don a crown. The waiter regarded her with an expression that suggested he was all too aware her finances were on the brink of distress. If you're in need of a kidney, I'm willing to donate one after dinner. She whispered to Nicholas. He offered a gentle smile. I've got everything under control. In that scenario, I shall request a plate crafted from gold and a glass adorned with diamonds. Nicholas chuckled softly. They settled into their seats, and Lucy made an effort to overlook just how at ease he appeared. So, Lucy, he rested his elbow on the table. Share some details about your background and interests. Lucy arched an eyebrow. What is the reason? I enjoy being aware of the company I share my meals with. Lucy folded her arms across her chest. I go about my daily routine, managing my responsibilities and sometimes sharing fleeting moments with unfamiliar faces to break free from the past. Nicholas beamed. Intriguing. Is that an innate ability or something you've learned on your own? Unfortunately, there isn't a technical course available for that. What a pity. I would sign up. Lucy let out an exasperated sigh. And how about yourself? What else occupies your time apart from being an annoying billionaire? Lucy scoffed at my ability to twist circumstances to benefit myself. Indeed, Nicholas shrugged. And still, here you are sharing a meal with me. Lucy gazed contemplatively at her glass of wine. I had no choice, Nicholas chuckled. She loathed the thought, yet there was a surprising enjoyment creeping in. And then he revealed the shocking truth. I have a proposal, Lucy said, her brow furrowing. If it involves anything illegal, I'm out, Nicholas said with a smile. Stay with me for a month, Lucy exclaimed, water spilling from her mouth. Excuse me? You understood what I said. I had a feeling about that. This is an offering of a human life. Absolutely not. I just need you to act like my girlfriend. Lucy fixed her gaze on him. What is the reason? Nicholas elegantly swirled his wine glass, the deep red liquid catching the light as he contemplated his next words. Some individuals simply require that belief. Lucy arched an eyebrow. And I am the ideal option. Following that kiss? Undoubtedly, Lucy sensed a flush rising to her cheeks. So, what's in it for me? Nicholas beamed. Whatever you desire, Lucy bit her lip. This was the most ludicrous notion imaginable, yet it held the potential for enjoyment. Lucy recognized that making hasty choices had never been her forte. She was the kind of person who would spend 30 minutes deliberating over which ice cream flavor to choose. The kind of person who spends days pondering the decision to purchase a new outfit. Yet here she found herself, seated opposite Nicholas Scott, the wealthiest man in town, earnestly contemplating a fabricated dating agreement. She gazed at him, utterly relaxed, as though he were finalizing a significant business agreement. Lucy remained uncertain whether this was an odd dream or a significant error looming ahead. Allow me to clarify this. She inclined her head. You want me to act as if I'm your girlfriend for a month. In return, I can request anything I desire. Nicholas acknowledged with a subtle smile. Precisely. Lucy squinted, her gaze sharp and focused. What is it about me? Consider bringing in a seasoned performer, perhaps a model, someone who exudes sophistication and has a more refined wardrobe. Nicholas cast a sidelong look at her t-shirt, a smirk playing on his lips. The unicorn possesses a unique character. I appreciate that. Lucy let out an exasperated sigh. Concentrate, Nicholas. What makes me the one? He inclined his body just a touch. Since you were unaware of my identity. Lucy opened her eyes wide. How is that relevant to the situation at hand? You pressed your lips to mine, unaware of my true self. It was an unintentional occurrence. An extraordinary mishap. Lucy exhaled deeply. You have yet to clarify the necessity of all this. Nicholas twirled his wine glass between his fingers, contemplating each word with precision. My family holds particular expectations, to say the least. A significant occasion is approaching. Arriving alone is bound to create some issues. Lucy folded her arms across her chest. What type of issue are we discussing? The sort that includes countless inquiries, a proposed arranged marriage, and perhaps even a documentary chronicling my romantic journey. Lucy stifled a chuckle. Are they truly that intense? You truly have no idea. Lucy paused, lost in thought for a moment. His request wasn't all that unreasonable. It was actually quite amusing. Upon reflection, she realized there were indeed a few advantages for her as well. For instance, Ryan would realize that she had progressed beyond their past. She would experience the essence of life among the affluent. If the situation became too much to handle, she could simply leave. Nicholas appeared to sense her inner conflict and offered a smile. It seems you're leaning towards a yes, isn't that right? Lucy scowled. Do not misrepresent my thoughts. I'm not obligated to. I'm already familiar with how you approach negotiations. She squinted at him, her gaze sharp and focused. So, what defines my unique approach? Initially, you create an intense moment. Then you act as if you don't care. Yet, beneath the surface, your curiosity is far too strong to resist. Lucy's jaw dropped in disbelief. That is incorrect. Nicholas arched an eyebrow. Absolutely not. Simply decline and move on. Lucy shut her lips. Blast it. He captured her. She averted her gaze, lost in thought. Nicholas was indeed correct regarding the intrigue. After all, when would she have another opportunity to experience the true essence of life in the realm of billionaires? Lucy inhaled deeply. All right, I'm on board. However, I do have certain stipulations. Nicholas beamed with delight. Naturally, you do. Lucy raised a finger. To begin with, I am not under your employment. I refuse to follow your commands. I always believed that adhering to instructions wasn't your greatest talent. Excellent. Additionally, I seek a reciprocal arrangement. Nicholas folded his arms, curiosity piqued. What is it exactly? Lucy beamed with joy. I would appreciate your assistance in finding a more suitable job opportunity. Nicholas blinked, taken aback. Are you looking for employment? Indeed. I'm weary of my present situation. If I'm going to participate in this wild scheme, I expect something valuable in exchange. Nicholas appeared to ponder the matter. He extended his hand. Agreed. Lucy gazed at his hand for a brief moment. She sensed she was on the brink of entering a realm far removed from her usual boundaries. However, do you realize something? Why not indeed? She grasped his hand firmly. Agreed. Nicholas smiled broadly. Welcome to my realm, Lucy. The following morning, Lucy stirred awake to find a message waiting for her on her phone. Nicholas, I'll swing by to get you at 10. Choose a tire that feels easy and relaxed. Lucy scowled. Comfortable for which purpose? She was uncertain about what lay ahead, yet she was skeptical that he was planning a picnic. Indeed, she was correct. At precisely 10 a.m., Nicholas arrived at her doorstep in a vehicle that likely exceeded the value of the entire house. Lucy gazed at the vehicle, then turned her attention to him. Are you kidding me? Doesn't this seem a bit excessive? There are no limits when you possess flair. With a dramatic roll of her eyes, Lucy climbed in. So, what's our destination? Nicholas offered her an enigmatic smile. Just wait and see. Lucy was not fond of unexpected events. It seems that Nicholas had a deep affection for the enigmatic. Upon reaching their destination, she finally grasped the reason behind it all. They found themselves in an upscale boutique. Lucy surveyed her surroundings, a look of bewilderment on her face. What is our purpose in this place? Nicholas graciously held the door open for her. If you want to be my girlfriend, your style needs to reflect that role. Lucy stood still. Hold on a moment. Are you implying that my attire isn't satisfactory? Nicholas cast a quick look at her unicorn t-shirt. Your unicorn seems to be in need of a well-deserved getaway. Lucy inhaled sharply, her offense palpable. This unicorn embodies individuality. It may now serve as a representation of retirement. With a frustrated sigh, Lucy made her way into the store. And 30 minutes later, she found herself amidst gowns that were priced like her monthly rent. She slipped into a few, sensing the weight of her own inadequacy amidst the opulence surrounding her. Yet, when she noticed Nicholas observing her with a pleased expression, a change occurred. He was truly dedicated to this parade. And oddly enough, she was beginning to see the humor in it all. Lucy was still grappling with the reality that, for the next month, she would be playing the role of Nicholas Scott's pretend girlfriend. The entire scenario resembled a dramatic scene from a television drama, where the protagonist finds herself entangled in a wild arrangement, leading to a complete upheaval of her life. At this moment, she was enveloped in a whirlwind of emotions, gliding towards a high society event in a lavish car, seated beside the town's most coveted billionaire. She cast a quick look at Nicholas, who navigated the road with a serene demeanor, as though this were merely an ordinary day for him. In contrast to her, who experienced a knot in her stomach at the mere idea of encountering all those refined individuals. His calm demeanor appeared to shield him from any anxiety, intensifying her own unease. Do you really think this is the best course of action? Lucy inquired, her fingers clutching the edge of the new dress he had chosen for her. She remained in disbelief that she was adorned in something so lavish. If she were to spill juice on it, she might find herself in a position where selling a kidney would be necessary to cover the costs of the damage. You've already committed to the agreement, so there's no turning back at this point, Nicholas said with a playful smirk. Moreover, you're going to excel. Simply smile, give a wave, and resist the urge to flee. Maybe running away isn't such a terrible thought, she murmured, folding her arms tightly. Could you refresh my memory on how you managed to persuade me to go along with this? I'm quite convincing, he remarked casually, his gaze fixed on the road ahead. Lucy let out a frustrated breath, yet found herself at a loss for words. He had a way with words that made it nearly impossible to say no. Upon their arrival at the event, Lucy felt certain she had wandered into the wrong venue. The grand ballroom stretched out before her, a sea of elegantly attired guests cradling their champagne flutes, engaged in conversation so sophisticated that she felt it would be futile to even try to grasp their meaning. This was the sort of scene she had only encountered in glossy magazines and cinematic tales, certainly not something she was accustomed to. Just remain close to me and behave as if you're meant to be here, Nicholas murmured. Grasping her hand gently, he stepped inside. Easy for you to say, she muttered, yet allowed him to guide her into the room. The response was instantaneous. As Nicholas stepped through the door, every gaze was drawn to him. Lucy sensed the inquisitive glances directed at her, as if onlookers were attempting to unravel the mystery of the woman accompanying him. She inhaled deeply and aligned her stance with confidence. She had consented to this, so she had to behave as if it were entirely ordinary. Nicholas. An elegant woman approached, her voice calling out to Lucy. She donned a perfect dress and a captivating smile, yet her gaze was fixed on Lucy, assessing her from head to toe. Claire, it's wonderful to see you, Nicholas remarked, offering her a courteous smile. I would express a similar sentiment, yet I find myself more astonished by your organization. You never bring anyone to these events, Claire smiled, though a keen curiosity laced her tone. Who is your companion? Nicholas effortlessly draped an arm around Lucy's waist, drawing her nearer with a relaxed grace. This is Lucy, my girlfriend, he declared with such an effortless ease that Lucy nearly chuckled. Though he might have felt a twinge of anxiety about deceiving, his demeanor revealed nothing of the sort. Claire lifted her eyebrows in astonishment. With a gentle smile, Lucy reached out her hand. Pleased to meet you, she remarked, striving to project assurance. With a curious look, Claire replied, the pleasure is mine, as she shook her hand. No offense intended, but you don't quite fit the profile of the women Nicholas typically accompanies. Lucy offered a courteous smile, yet internally, she yearned to inquire about the true meaning behind that statement. It seems he chose to shake things up a little, she responded, maintaining her poise. Nicholas emitted a soft laugh next to her, clearly relishing the conversation. Claire, however, held her gaze on Lucy for a few more moments before redirecting her attention to Nicholas. I trust she's prepared for what lies ahead, my dear. Not everyone can match your pace. Text, Nicholas responded without a moment's pause, expressing his belief that she was managing quite well. Claire offered a smile that fell short of her eyes and turned to leave, probably to share the news with the other guests. With a heavy sigh, Lucy turned her gaze towards Nicholas. I'm not fond of her. He remarked nonchalantly that most people don't. Lucy let out an exasperated sigh. You might have given me a heads up about these individuals being powerful. Without prompting, he responded with a mischievous grin. They navigated the event for the next hour, exchanging pleasantries with unfamiliar faces and eavesdropping on discussions about investments, corporate mergers, and lavish getaways. She put forth an effort to appear engaged, yet truthfully, her attention was primarily on avoiding a stumble in her gown. In the stillness of the night, a voice she recognized broke the silence from behind her. Is that you, Lucy? She spun around, and a knot formed in her stomach. Ryan, the former partner, at the same gathering. Naturally, the universe had a penchant for complicating her existence. He gazed at her in utter disbelief, as though the very idea of Lucy being present was beyond his comprehension. Samantha, ever the companion, grasped his arm tightly, her expression mirroring his shock. What brings you here? Ryan inquired, his voice laced with incredulity. Before Lucy could reply, Nicholas wrapped an arm around her waist, offering a gentle squeeze as if gearing up for a confrontation. She's with me, Nicholas declared, his tone resolute yet tinged with a hint of humor. I assumed that was clear. Ryan blinked, utterly disoriented. Samantha appeared on the verge of overflowing with curiosity. Me? Are you two in a relationship? Ryan inquired, clearly attempting to understand the situation. Lucy beamed, capturing the essence of the moment. Indeed, we are united. Ryan's lips parted and pressed together repeatedly, yet silence lingered in the air. He looked back and forth between Nicholas and Lucy, as if anticipating a chuckle or a revelation that it was all just a jest. Since when has this been the case? Samantha inquired, her arms crossed defiantly. For some time now, Lucy responded, attempting to maintain a nonchalant tone. Ryan appeared utterly bewildered. Nicholas, in contrast, appeared to be quite satisfied with the circumstances. It was lovely to see you, but we must be on our way, Nicholas said, softly guiding Lucy away. As they strolled away, Lucy finally released the breath she had been holding in. I can't believe he was here, she whispered. Text, a curious twist of fate, Nicholas remarked, casting her an amused glance. And I must say, you managed it exceptionally well. I'm a remarkable performer, she responded, attempting to brush aside the whirlwind of thoughts in her head. He grinned. Are you prepared to continue with the plan? Lucy inhaled deeply. She had overcome the initial hurdle. Now, she needed to determine whether she could maintain this facade without losing her true self in the process. "Let's see where this takes us," she remarked, a sense of ease washing over her. Nicholas smiled, a knowing glint in his eyes, as if he sensed that this tale was just beginning. And deep within, Lucy understood it as well. Lucy remained uncertain about how she had navigated the event without stumbling over her dress or inadvertently exposing something inappropriate. Yet, against all odds, she had managed to succeed. The true issue, however, was that now, seated opposite Nicholas Scott in one of the most opulent offices she had ever encountered, she understood that this chaos was merely starting. "Let's make it official," Nicholas declared, casually flipping through the papers as if this were a routine part of his day. "This document details the terms of our agreement." Lucy fixed him with a sharp gaze. "Agreement? Are you serious?" Nicholas arched an eyebrow. "Absolutely not. This is a matter of business, Lucy. Surely, you didn't believe we would simply exchange pleasantries and leave everything to chance, did you?" She folded her arms across her chest. "I had a bit of an expectation for it to be more straightforward." "Nothing involving my family is ever straightforward," he said, pushing the papers across the table toward her. "Furthermore, the agreement guarantees that you will not find yourself in a less favorable position." Lucy grabbed the documents and began to read. Her gaze swiftly traversed the stipulations detailing their respective duties. She was anticipated to join him at social gatherings, uphold the narrative that they were a couple, and above all, ensure that everything remained under wraps. In exchange, Nicholas would arrange a new position for her and take care of any costs associated with their agreement. Incredible. "This feels like one of those movie contracts where the heroine ends up falling for the billionaire boss," Lucy murmured. Nicholas beamed with delight. "If this were a film, we'd be well past the midpoint of the narrative," she sighed dramatically. "So, I just signed this, and for a month I'm officially your girlfriend?" "Precisely." Lucy bit her lip, contemplating her thoughts. "What occurs if I decide to withdraw midway?" "Just give me a heads up, and we can part ways discreetly," Nicholas responded. "However, it would certainly be wise to steer clear of that. Ultimately, my family anticipates that I will achieve a sense of stability in my life." Lucy stifled a chuckle. "Consistent existence. You hardly know anything about me. There's no need for my family to be aware of that." With a heavy sigh, she cast her gaze over the contract once more. She realized this was utterly absurd. Yet, beneath the surface, she realized there wasn't much at stake for her. Moreover, it would serve as an excellent narrative in the future. With a steadying inhale, she grasped the pen firmly. "Okay, let's get started." Nicholas beamed with contentment as she affixed her signature to the document. "Greetings to the agreement, Lucy." She passed him the document, sensing that she had just entered a completely different realm. The following days flew by more quickly than Lucy had anticipated. Initially, she believed that acting as Nicholas's girlfriend would seem odd. Yet, astonishingly, he rendered it all quite effortless. Their agenda was already brimming with activities. To her astonishment, she found herself acclimating to the swift tempo of his universe. That evening, Nicholas arrived to escort her to yet another lavish charity gala, filled with the elite of society. This time, Lucy was prepared for what lay ahead. Inquisitive looks, understated inquiries, and perhaps a hint of challenge from those familiar with him. Yet rather than feeling anxious, she was beginning to grasp the mechanics of the situation. "You're improving quite a bit," Nicholas remarked while driving. "Thanks a lot." She responded, feigning pride, "I learn from the best." "I trust that wasn't meant to be sarcastic." "Only a small amount." Nicholas chuckled, and Lucy came to the realization that, in spite of the oddity of the situation, they were genuinely connecting. Upon their arrival at the event, they found themselves welcomed by a flurry of photographers and guests, all seemingly captivated by the city's latest couple rather than the charity cause at hand. Lucy maintained her stance, recalling all the lessons she had absorbed from past experiences. Smile, nod, and steer clear of engaging in discussions that might complicate their narrative. However, true to form, as her life was never one to follow a straight path, it wasn't long before the unforeseen made its entrance. "Nicholas, my dear." The sound of a woman's voice resonated throughout the space. Lucy turned and noticed a woman coming closer, her smile radiant and captivating. She possessed a statuesque grace, exuding an air of familiarity that suggested a deep and enduring connection with Nicholas. "Olivia." Nicholas acknowledged her presence, his demeanor courteous yet lacking in genuine warmth. Lucy recognized it immediately. She was a former partner. Olivia glanced at Lucy briefly before redirecting her focus to Nicholas. "Will you be introducing me?" Nicholas rested his hand on Lucy's waist, drawing her in just a touch closer. "This is Lucy, my partner." Olivia's eyes glimmered with a blend of astonishment and intrigue. "Partner? And you? That comes as a surprise." Lucy pressed her lips together, feeling the anticipation build as the conversation was poised to take a captivating turn. "Love is a tapestry woven with unexpected threads," she said, her smile illuminating the moment. Nicholas stifled a chuckle as Olivia arched an eyebrow in response. Indeed, Nicholas has always been a challenging character to persuade. "You must be someone truly remarkable," Lucy said, her eyes wide with innocence. "He's truly more approachable than he appears. It's all about understanding the right triggers to activate." Nicholas cleared his throat next to her, unmistakably grasping the unspoken implication. Olivia chuckled, yet Lucy sensed that the laughter lacked complete authenticity. "Well, I trust you both are content," Olivia remarked, continuing to observe Lucy with keen curiosity. "However, should you ever seek guidance, remember that I have walked a similar path." Lucy inclined her head just a bit and offered a gentle smile. "I appreciate it, but I believe I'm managing quite well at the moment." Nicholas encircled her with his arm, offering a gentle squeeze. "You definitely are," he stated, cutting off the conversation before Olivia had a chance to elaborate. Once Olivia turned and left, Lucy exhaled deeply. "Former partner?" she inquired, merely to verify. "Absolutely." "Did everything conclude positively?" "It seems we hold contrasting perspectives on the essence of a relationship." Lucy squinted her eyes in concentration. Nicholas smiled at the rather ambiguous response. "And you inquired far too often," Lucy chuckled and shook her head. Despite her best efforts to understand Nicholas, he consistently managed to evade her inquiries. The remainder of the night was filled with various events they attended. For the first time, Lucy understood that she truly belonged. What began as a strictly professional setup was starting to take on a sense of ease. And that, for her, was somewhat unsettling. As they departed from the event and Nicholas navigated the drive home, Lucy found herself feeling drained yet strangely content. She never envisioned that she would adjust so swiftly to a realm so unlike her own. Before she exited the vehicle, her gaze lingered on Nicholas. "So, how much longer until your family believes that we're truly a couple?" He let out a soft laugh. "Most likely not at all. Rest assured, everything is going smoothly for us." Lucy nodded and extended her hand toward the door handle. Just as she was about to leave, Nicholas called out to her. "Lucy." She glanced over her shoulder. "Excuse me." Nicholas paused briefly, then a smile broke across his face. "You possess more skill in this area than you realize." Lucy sensed a flicker within her, yet chose to dismiss it. "I am truly remarkable. You simply took too long to realize." With a playful wink, she exited the car, a realization dawning on her that, after what felt like ages, she was genuinely enjoying herself. But what was the implication of that? She was completely unaware. Perhaps she wasn't ready to uncover the truth just yet. Lucy was beginning to acclimate to the notion of playing the role of Nicholas Scott's pretend girlfriend. Or at least, that was her belief, until he revealed to her that morning that they would be dining with his family that evening. "Shall we have dinner? Are you with your family? Lucy's eyes grew wide, clutching her coffee cup as though it were a lifeline. It seems that small detail in the contract was overlooked. Though it wasn't explicitly stated in the contract, it undeniably forms a crucial aspect of the agreement. Nicholas responded nonchalantly, glancing over some papers. That's not fair, she shot back, setting the cup down on the table. I must admit, I'm not the best at maintaining a facade. What if I make a mistake in my words? What happens if your family discovers the truth behind the deception? Then simply carry on with your expertise, he remarked, barely glancing up from the page. Improvise, Lucy sighed, her voice heavy with exasperation. It's simple for you to express that. You entered this world. I find myself uncertain about which fork to select at a formal dinner. Nicholas finally lifted his gaze and offered her a faint smile. Just follow my lead, and everything will be fine, she said, crossing her arms with a skeptical look. Do you really believe that's the case? Without a doubt, Lucy exhaled deeply. This is bound to end in disaster. As Lucy entered the magnificent hall of the Scott family residence, her immediate reaction was to pause and take a deep breath. The mansion was so grand that she felt compelled to move with caution, ensuring she didn't accidentally step on something outrageously costly. The dining table stretched out, adorned with an elegant arrangement of plates that appeared to cost more than her monthly rent. Nicholas's family had already assembled, and as they walked in, every gaze shifted to her. Nicholas, a lady of elegance and a gentle smile, rose to her feet. At last, you made the choice to come see us. Hello, Mom, he said, planting a kiss on her cheek before shifting his attention to Lucy. This is Lucy, my partner. Lucy sensed the weight of Nicholas's mom's scrutinizing gaze upon her. To her astonishment, the woman responded with a warm smile of welcome. My dear Lucy, what a delight it is to finally make your acquaintance. Nicholas consistently refrains from making introductions to anyone. It seemed like he might have intended to embrace a life of solitude indefinitely. Lucy offered a tentative smile. He ultimately came to understand that life without me was simply not an option. She teased, casting Nicholas a sly glance. He stifled a chuckle and nonchalantly rested a hand on her back. Precisely. Please, take a seat, take a seat. Shall we indulge in a meal? Nicholas's mother indicated the chairs around the table with a wave of her hand. Lucy found herself beside Nicholas, and fortunately, their dialogue began on a smooth note. His mother inquired about her experiences, her profession, and the story of their meeting. Lucy adhered to the outline, narrating the tale they had practiced. All was proceeding remarkably smoothly until the door to the hall swung open, revealing a man stepping inside. Nicholas's demeanor instantly shifted to one of steely resolve. Father, he whispered, holding his stance steady. Lucy adjusted her posture in her chair. That was his father, a figure of authority, with a solemn expression and an air of confidence that was unmistakable. He walked over to the table, offering a warm greeting to all present before his gaze settled on her. Here stands Lucy, he remarked, assessing her presence. Indeed, Nicholas responded with conviction. My partner. The man appeared to lack conviction. Quite captivating. You've consistently steered clear of deep connections. And now, unexpectedly, you arrive with someone. A hush enveloped the room for a brief moment. Lucy sensed the gravity of those words and realized that Nicholas's dad remained unconvinced by the performance. Love unfolds in its own time, she remarked, her smile radiating assurance. Nicholas's mother beamed, clearly valuing the reply, while his father maintained a piercing stare. So, what's the story of how you two crossed paths? Nicholas interjected before Lucy could respond. In a bookstore, he remarked, catching her off guard. Lucy glanced at him, bewildered, yet he maintained a serene demeanor. She clutched a book that had caught my eye for purchase. In a moment of simultaneous desire, our hands collided as we both sought possession, igniting a spirited debate over who rightfully deserved it. Lucy grasped the concept immediately and seamlessly contributed her own spontaneous line. He attempted to assert that he had spotted it first, she remarked, exasperation evident in her eye roll. However, I was determined not to back down, so she dared me to a coffee. The one who swayed the other would claim the book. Nicholas completed his thoughts, casting her a knowing glance. So, who emerged victorious? Nicholas's mother inquired, a hint of amusement in her voice. Clearly, it's me. Don't fool yourself, Nicholas shot back. I allowed you to come out on top. Everyone at the table burst into laughter, and even his father appeared to be more at ease. Lucy came to the astonishing conclusion that, against all odds, they had succeeded in persuading everyone. The dinner flowed smoothly, filled with discussions about journeys, careers, and family gatherings. Lucy made every effort to stay engaged and reply in a genuine manner. Gradually, she began to understand that, despite her initial apprehension, she was actually starting to appreciate the company of Nicholas's mother and even the straightforward manner of his father. As they bid their farewells and departed from the mansion, Lucy released a deep, weary sigh. I felt like I might lose consciousness in that moment. Nicholas beamed. You performed exceptionally well. Your father nearly sent me sprawling with a single glance. He treats everyone that way. Please don't take it to heart. Lucy regarded him with a wary eye. Do you really think he purchased it? Nicholas paused for a moment before responding. He continues to harbor uncertainties. At this moment, everything is going well. With a heavy heart, Lucy let out a deep sigh. Excellent. All that remains is to maintain this facade until the agreement is finalized. Nicholas paused, observing her intently. Do you really believe this will be a walk in the park? Her lips curved into a smile. In relation to the present? Absolutely. The issue lay in the fact that Lucy remained unaware of what awaited her. Perhaps the situation was on the verge of becoming far more intricate than she had anticipated. Lucy was still reflecting on all that transpired during the Scott family dinner. She couldn't quite grasp how it happened, but she found herself emerging from that predicament unscathed, managing to speak without much hesitation, and remarkably, without causing any chaos. However, one thing remained clear. Nicholas's father appeared to harbor doubts. As they cruised down the road, Lucy stole a sideways glance at Nicholas, who maintained a serene demeanor behind the wheel. He appeared content with her performance, yet Lucy couldn't shake the feeling that they were treading carefully. Your dad didn't believe it, she said, shattering the stillness. Nicholas clarified that he has doubts. However, up to this point, he hasn't reached out to us. That's because he's biding his time for the perfect moment, Lucy shot back, her arms crossed defiantly. Did you notice the expression in his eyes? He was not convinced by that tale at all. Nicholas gave a nonchalant shrug. Let him be as suspicious as he desires. What matters is that, for now, we're still in the game, Lucy sighed. That offers me no solace. Nicholas cast her a playful glance. I'm compensating you to keep your mind at ease. She gazed at him intently. I am not receiving any payment from you. I am, he remarked, adorned in luxurious attire, indulging in exquisite meals, and living a life filled with experiences beyond your imagination. Lucy squinted her eyes in concentration. I remain uncertain about the value of this experience. Ah, it seems you're really enjoying it. Lucy began to respond but then fell silent once more. In reality, he had a point that couldn't be dismissed entirely. The following morning, Lucy awoke to an inundation of messages on her phone. She blinked several times, bewildered, and when she glanced at the notifications, she nearly dropped her phone. A message arrived from a friend. Lucy, are you seeing Nicholas Scott? The second one, from a different friend. Why didn't you mention that you have a billionaire boyfriend? The third, originating from an unidentified number. Greetings, we represent a magazine and are interested in interviewing you regarding your connection with Nicholas Scott. Lucy's eyes grew large as she continued to scroll down. At least 15 additional messages of a similar nature were present. What's happening? She whispered softly, lingering in the haze of slumber. Only when she clicked on one of the links did she truly grasp the seriousness of the situation. There she stood, gracing the cover of a gossip site alongside Nicholas. The photograph captures a moment from dinner the previous night, where he gently held her waist as she smiled at a member of his family. Nicholas Scott has officially confirmed his relationship. Who was Lucy Cooper, the woman who captivated the billionaire? Lucy emitted a strangled noise and tossed the phone onto the bed as though it were ablaze. Absolutely not. This was not included in the strategy. Just as a wave of anxiety threatened to wash over her, the phone began to ring. Her gaze fell upon the screen, and naturally, it was Nicholas. She inhaled deeply before responding. Have you come across this? She launched into her response before he had a chance to speak. Good morning to you as well, Nicholas responded, a hint of amusement in his voice. I did indeed see it. What led to this situation? He mentioned it casually, as though it were nothing out of the ordinary. We weren't destined to remain unnoticed for eternity. However, it seems that the topic is on everyone's lips now. Messages are coming my way. I've even had requests for interviews from magazine representatives. Nicholas let out a weary breath. Disregard it. It will pass in a matter of days. Lucy exhaled sharply. Do you genuinely believe it's going to be that straightforward? Absolutely. The media consistently uncovers fresh narratives. She felt uncertain, yet in that moment, she found herself at a loss for what action to take. This is likely to lead to complications. It's entirely up to you. Take a deep breath and relax. Are you prepared for the gathering this evening? Lucy stood still. Which event are you referring to? An elegant evening affair. Make sure you're prepared by 7. Nicholas, you can't simply bombard me with this information. Absolutely, I can. This is our agreement. Lucy clenched her jaw tightly. You enjoy watching me squirm, don't you? I enjoy observing your approach to it. Lucy shut her eyes and inhaled deeply. It seems fortune is on your side, as I'm unable to withdraw from this agreement at this moment. I understand. I look forward to seeing you at 7. Before she had the chance to object, he ended the call. Lucy gazed intently at the phone. This individual is truly testing my patience. At precisely 7 o'clock, Nicholas arrived to collect her. He donned a sleek suit, exuding an air of sophistication as if he had just emerged from the pages of a glossy publication. Meanwhile, Lucy was preoccupied with adjusting her dress, making a concerted effort to avoid stumbling over her own feet. You look stunning, Nicholas remarked as she settled into the car. You're merely saying that to maintain your facade, she responded, toying with her earrings. What if I am being honest? She cast her gaze upon him. Your words always carry purpose, Nicholas. He offered a sidelong smile. Intelligent. Lucy let out an exasperated sigh. Upon their arrival at the event, she came to the unsettling realization that it would be far more daunting than she had envisioned. The venue brimmed with photographers and elite socialites, all poised to feast their gaze upon her. Nicholas stepped out of the car and, before she could falter, grasped her hand and guided her down the red carpet. Simply smile, he murmured. Lucy maintained a cheerful expression, yet her heart raced with intensity. People snapped photos, murmured to one another, and she felt as if she were part of a cinematic scene. Upon stepping into the ballroom, Nicholas drew her near. Inhale deeply. She let out a sigh, becoming aware that she had been holding her breath. This is overwhelming. You'll acclimate to it in no time. Lucy had her doubts about that. The evening unfolded with warm greetings, cheerful smiles, and friendly introductions. Lucy tried her hardest to stay in sync, yet it felt as though she was performing in a production without having read the script. In the stillness of the night, an unexpected figure emerged and seized her arm. She pivoted, taken aback, and found herself staring directly at Samantha. "You certainly have some nerve," the woman remarked with a rather unwelcoming grin. Lucy opened her eyes wide. "Pardon me, could you clarify that?" Samantha folded her arms across her chest. "Do you really believe you're deceiving anyone? So, you're truly with Nicholas?" Lucy managed to put on a smile. "Do you feel envious?" Samantha chuckled, though her laughter lacked sincerity. "It strikes me as peculiar. Once, you were simply an everyday girl, but that has changed recently. Now, you stand here, as if you have every right to be a part of this world." Lucy sensed a wave of annoyance building within her. "What's the issue with that?" "The issue is, I am aware that this isn't genuine." Just as Lucy was about to reply, Nicholas materialized beside her, his hand resting gently on her waist. "Is there an issue?" he inquired with a sense of tranquility. Samantha offered a disingenuous grin. "No, not a single one. I was just chatting with Lucy about how unexpected it is to find her here." Nicholas beamed. "Lucy never fails to astonish me. That's the reason I admire her greatly." Lucy blinked, caught off guard and uncertain of her response. Samantha fixed her gaze, her silence speaking volumes. As they turned to leave, Lucy cast a glance at Nicholas. "Your actions were intentional. What did you do?" She was well aware that doubt lingered in her mind. Nicholas gave a nonchalant shrug. "Now she has less cause for uncertainty." Lucy gently shook her head, a subtle gesture that spoke volumes. "It seems you enjoy engaging with others, don't you? Only when the endeavor holds true value." Lucy found herself uncertain whether it was meant as praise or a warning. Yet, there was an undeniable awareness within her that the circumstances were becoming increasingly intricate. And most troubling of all, she found herself uncertain if she truly desired it to come to a close. Lucy found herself grappling with the whirlwind of events that had unfolded. The dinner with Nicholas's family, the articles surfacing on gossip sites, and now, as if that weren't sufficient, Samantha choosing to confront her directly. The cosmos seemed to be pushing her limits of endurance. The gala pulsed with energy, important guests weaving through the opulent hall, and Lucy sensed the weight of every gaze upon her. Rather than succumbing to intimidation, Lucy resolved not to grant Samantha the pleasure of witnessing her discomfort. "You don't need to respond to her taunts," Nicholas remarked beside her, observing Samantha as she walked away. "I know," Lucy replied, as she accepted a glass of juice from the waiter's tray. Truthfully, she could benefit from exploring a new pastime. Nicholas chuckled softly and took a sip of his beverage. "I have to say, I thought you'd be more anxious about everything," Lucy sighed. "Oh, I feel a flutter of anxiety. However, after enduring your father's questioning and spotting my image on tabloid sites, I'm no longer taken aback by anything." "Well, perhaps you won't be taken aback by what follows," he remarked nonchalantly. Lucy paused, her drink halfway to her lips, and regarded him with a wary gaze. "What actions did you take?" "I didn't do anything," he said, his voice dripping with a feigned innocence that she had come to recognize and distrust. "However, I believe it's important for you to know that my mom was quite fond of you and is eager to arrange a more personal dinner for us." Lucy almost gasped for breath. "Another meal to savor?" "I hardly made it through the first one," Nicholas chuckled. "My mom believes she has discovered a woman capable of managing my complexities. At this moment, I find myself questioning my own sanity." He cast a sidelong glance at her. "You can still back out," Lucy scoffed. "And forfeit the opportunity to continue feigning wealth for an entire month?" "Absolutely not." Nicholas beamed, evidently delighted by her response. The evening unfolded smoothly, devoid of any significant surprises, until an older gentleman, clad in a meticulously tailored suit and exuding an air of authority, made his way toward them. "Nicholas, it has been some time," the man remarked, gripping Nicholas' hand with a strong shake. Nicholas addressed him with a professional nod, "Mr. Whitmore." How have you been faring? Lucy watched the exchange, swiftly understanding that this individual held significant importance. Quite satisfactory, quite satisfactory. And who might this young lady be? Nicholas rested his hand on Lucy's waist, introducing her with an air of ease. My partner, Lucy. With a warm smile, Lucy reached out her hand. Pleased to make your acquaintance, the man assessed her for a brief moment before extending his hand for a shake. The pleasure is all mine. So, Nicholas, when do you intend to introduce Miss Cooper to the realm of business? Lucy blinked several times, taken aback. Oh, really? Nicholas interjected before she could finish her thought. Shortly, Mr. Whitmore. Lucy possesses remarkable talent and has the potential to be an excellent collaborator for upcoming endeavors. Lucy endeavored to maintain a composed demeanor, yet the astonishment lingered unmistakably. Nicholas had never brought up the idea of including her in business matters, and now he was making that statement in front of one of the most powerful figures at the event. It's reassuring to hear that, Mr. Whitmore remarked. We'll discuss it further at a later date. Nicholas acknowledged with a nod, and the man moved on, exchanging pleasantries with other guests as he went. Lucy glanced at Nicholas, her eyes narrowing with suspicion. Could you clarify what that was all about? He offered a faint smile. A small enhancement to the trustworthiness of our connection. Are you asking me to act as if I'm knowledgeable about business at this moment? There's no need for pretense, he responded. However, if you're seeking a more fulfilling position, this might be a chance worth considering. Lucy folded her arms across her chest. I sensed there was an underlying twist to this arrangement. Take it easy, Nicholas remarked, reaching for another glass from the waiter's tray. You'll manage it perfectly. Lucy remained wary, yet chose to ponder it at a later time. At this moment, her only desire was to navigate the night without encountering any further unexpected events. Yet, fate had a different story to tell. Shortly thereafter, as they strolled through the corridor, a waiter glided by, presenting an array of appetizers. Lucy, her mind elsewhere, snatched one without a careful glance. It wasn't until Nicholas seized her wrist, just as she was poised to take a bite, that she understood something was amiss. What seems to be the issue? She inquired, her brow furrowed in perplexity. Do you have an allergy to seafood? Lucy scowled. Negative. What is the reason? Since you just grabbed a shrimp canopy, discovering an allergy this way would be quite unfortunate. She glanced at the appetizer, then shifted her gaze to him. Did you notice what I picked to eat? Nicholas gave a slight shrug. You are my partner. I'm expected to be concerned about those matters. Lucy blinked, absorbing his reply. That was surprisingly reflective. He offered a faint smile. Don't become accustomed to it. Lucy rolled her eyes, yet a small smile crept onto her face. The remainder of the night passed swiftly, and before long, they found themselves in the car, heading home. I believe we succeeded in the challenge this evening. Lucy remarked, releasing a deep breath. You were exceptional. I understand. Nicholas chuckled heartily. And humble as well. With a gentle smile, Lucy gazed out the window, watching the city unfold before her. Now that the entire media is convinced of this narrative, what comes next? Nicholas paused, his silence stretching out before he finally spoke. At this point, we must continue persuading my family. Oh, wonderful. More dinners accompanied by critical gazes. Precisely. She let out a weary breath. If I make it through this, I've certainly earned a reward. He responded, You're already receiving a reward. A month within my realm. She cast him a sidelong glance. I'm still contemplating if that's a gift or a burden. Nicholas beamed. You'll discover it shortly. Lucy felt a chill run through her as his words resonated within her, for she understood, in her core, that he spoke the truth. A whisper within her hinted that this arrangement was solidifying into something more tangible than it ought to be. And that was precisely what filled her with fear. Lucy stirred awake to the relentless buzz of her phone, and for a fleeting moment, she thought about letting it go unanswered. Her body remained weary from the previous night, and the last thing she desired was to confront yet another onslaught of unexpected events. Yet, upon seeing Nicholas's name illuminated on the screen, she understood that her options had dwindled. "Are you aware that there are certain times that are considered suitable for calling someone?" she replied, her voice heavy with sleep. "Good morning to you as well," Nicholas responded, clearly having been awake for hours already. "Do you have any plans for today?" Lucy lay there, a frown etched on her face. "Negative." "What is the reason?" "It is essential for us to strengthen our trustworthiness." Lucy propped herself up in bed, her mind now alert and engaged. "What does that truly signify?" "Images." She blinked, her eyes momentarily fluttering as if awakening from a dream. "Indeed. With our presence now recognized by the media, it's essential that we present ourselves as a genuine couple." Lucy pondered, her fingers running through her hair. "Are you suggesting we take a photo together?" "Precisely. An easygoing excursion, perhaps a charming midday meal for two. Something that will make others think, ah, they are truly in love." With a heavy heart, Lucy let out a deep sigh. "This contract is clearly of great importance to you. You ought to as well. I shall await your arrival in 1 hour's time." He ended the call before she had a chance to protest. Lucy gazed at the phone, then pressed her face into the pillow. "Why am I facing this situation?" An hour later, Lucy descended from the apartment and spotted Nicholas casually leaning against a sleek luxury car that seemed to have been plucked right from a high-end advertisement. He sported sunglasses and wore a relaxed expression, as though he were simply savoring an ordinary day. "You pretend like you didn't pull someone into a fake date at the last minute," Lucy muttered as she got into the car. "Think of it as preparation for what's to come," he remarked, turning the key in the ignition. "Upcoming happenings. Are you intending to pull me into more scenarios like this? You were fully aware of what you were signing up for." She folded her arms across her chest. "I realized I would need to act as if I were your girlfriend. However, I was unaware that it entailed being pursued by photographers. Step into my realm." With a soft sigh, Lucy gazed out the window as Nicholas navigated the bustling city streets. Before long, they found themselves at a charming restaurant featuring a stunning outdoor terrace, ideal for capturing casual photographs. As they stepped inside, Nicholas graciously pulled out the chair for Lucy, allowing her to take a seat before he settled into the one opposite her. "Look at you, a true gentleman," Lucy teased, merely maintaining the facade. She chuckled and picked up the menu, only to realize that Nicholas had shifted his focus away from it. "What seems to be the issue?" He inclined his head just a bit, conveying a message through his gaze. Lucy turned her attention to where he was looking and noticed a cluster of photographers nearby, attempting to blend into the surroundings. "Have they arrived yet?" she murmured softly. "Absolutely. I mentioned that we had to appear credible." Lucy let out an exasperated sigh. "Does this imply I need to appear all affectionate while I dine?" "Precisely." She snatched a slice of bread from the basket on the table and gestured towards him. "Surely, you realize this is the most absurd thing I've ever undertaken, don't you? You've mentioned that previously, and I will reiterate it once more." Nicholas smiled warmly, lifted a glass of wine, and offered a toast with a glimmer of joy in his eyes. "Cheers to the flawless strategy." Lucy lifted her glass in unison. "Flawless? I'd describe it as quite daring. And where's the excitement without a touch of danger?" She shook her head, yet a smile danced on her lips. Amidst all the chaos, she couldn't help but acknowledge that she was enjoying herself more than she ought to be. Post-lunch, Nicholas proposed a stroll in the park, and Lucy observed that the photographers trailed behind them. "Do they never feel weary?" she whispered softly. "It's their responsibility." With a resigned breath, Lucy chose to go along with it. As Nicholas grasped her hand, she remained still, not withdrawing. As he flashed a smile her way, she returned it with one of her own. As he leaned in to share a secret near her ear, likely just for the sake of the cameras, she erupted in laughter, as if he had just delivered the most hilarious joke imaginable. He remarked that you excel at this. I excel in the art of performance. Nicholas offered a sly grin. Or perhaps you're simply enjoying yourself. As she prepared to respond, a familiar voice cut through the air, halting her words. This is quite intriguing. Lucy spun around, her stomach twisting at the sight of Ryan, who stood there, observing her with a gaze full of doubt. Ryan, she exclaimed, her voice filled with surprise. He folded his arms across his chest. It struck me as odd to see you with Nicholas Scott, but witnessing this in person is truly beyond belief. Lucy made an effort to maintain her calm demeanor. What brings you here? As he strolled, his gaze remained fixed on her, and he responded. What about you? Assuming the role. Nicholas remained quiet beside her, merely watching. Lucy folded her arms across her chest. Do you feel envious? Ryan emitted a sardonic chuckle. This all seems rather convenient to me. Lucy inhaled deeply. I have no obligation to explain myself to you. Ryan glanced at her briefly before redirecting his focus to Nicholas. Do you truly understand what you're stepping into? Nicholas wore a smile, yet his gaze was keen and alert. I have complete confidence. Ryan's expression darkened, yet he remained silent. He cast a final glance at Lucy before turning to leave. She released a deep, weary breath. That was quite peculiar. Nicholas buried his hands deep in his pockets. It's evident that he still hasn't moved past it. Lucy let out an exasperated sigh. I still can't shake off the embarrassment he caused me, but that doesn't mean I confront others about it. Nicholas chuckled heartily. You managed him effectively. Thank you, but I would rather avoid any future interactions with him. Nicholas beamed. Given all this media focus, it seems unlikely that he will be able to forget you in the near future. Lucy let out a deep breath, sensing that he had a point. The entire performance was exceeding expectations, yet simultaneously, it was beginning to feel increasingly authentic. Lucy found herself uncertain whether that was a positive development or a ticking time bomb ready to explode. For she was beginning to understand that the boundary separating pretense from truth was becoming alarmingly fragile. Lucy found it difficult to identify the moment when everything began to feel more tangible than it ought to have. Perhaps it was at the dinner table with Nicholas' family that she discovered a genuine enjoyment in his mother's company, if only for a fleeting moment. Perhaps it was while strolling through the park, as Nicholas grasped her hand, and she found herself surprisingly unbothered by it. As she sat in the cafe, her gaze fixed on her phone screen, Lucy couldn't help but notice yet another headline about the couple of the moment. It was then that she started to understand what was truly troubling her. She felt as though she was truly embodying her role. You're looking at that phone as if it might attack you, Nicholas remarked, sitting across from her with 2 coffees in hand. Lucy took hold of hers, her gaze fixed on the screen. Everything about this still feels surreal. Nicholas reclined in his chair, at ease. That sounds familiar. I will continue to express this. This may be familiar territory for you, but it's all new to me. Nicholas savored a sip of his coffee. You're managing this situation far more effectively than I anticipated. Lucy let out a weary sigh, her hand cradling her face in a moment of quiet contemplation. Had I realized that a single impulsive kiss could lead to all of this, perhaps I would have chosen a different path. Nicholas offered a sidelong grin. It certainly wouldn't have been as enjoyable. Lucy rolled her eyes, yet a faint smile tugged at her lips. What comes next? What comes next? Nicholas paused, lost in thought. He leaned in, resting his elbows on the table, and fixed his gaze on her. I want you to stay with me, Lucy blinked. Indeed, the contract is still ongoing. It's not merely the contract I'm referring to, she said with a frown. Could you clarify what you mean? Nicholas inhaled deeply. My father remains wary. He seeks more tangible evidence that our relationship is genuine. Lucy experienced a shiver creeping along her spine. So, what's your strategy for making that happen? Nicholas paused briefly before stating, I want you to move into my house. Lucy's eyes grew large with surprise. Excuse me? It would be just for a short while, he clarified swiftly. Sufficient for my family to recognize that we are approaching this with earnestness. Lucy carefully set the coffee on the table, mindful to avoid any spills. Are you suggesting that I should relocate to your residence? This is absolutely wild. Well, until now, this entire situation has been quite wild, Nicholas said with a faint smile. However, this is truly on a different plane. Nicholas inclined his head ever so slightly. Are you interested in making the plan successful or not? Lucy began to speak up, but hesitated. She realized Nicholas was correct. To maintain the facade until the very end, they had to enhance its credibility. However, cohabiting with him felt like a leap too far. I'm not sure I can manage this, she confessed, her teeth grazing her lip. Nicholas let out a weary breath. Consider this. It may seem overwhelming at first, but take a moment to reflect on it. Your own space will be provided. No adjustments to your routine will be necessary. We simply have to present ourselves as a couple cohabitating for some time. Lucy inhaled deeply. This continues to feel off. Nicholas folded his arms, observing her intently for a brief moment. So, what's holding you back? She parted her lips to reply, yet found herself at a loss for words. Absolutely, the entire scenario was wild, but did she truly possess a compelling justification to decline? The most challenging aspect was that, despite her efforts to persuade herself otherwise, a fragment of her remained intrigued. What might it feel like to share more moments with Nicholas? She let out a weary sigh. I require a moment to reflect. Nicholas inclined his head in agreement. Okay, but please don't take too much time. My dad is gearing up to put us to the test once more. Lucy let out a frustrated sigh and concealed her face in her hands. This contract is truly frustrating. Nicholas chuckled heartily. I can't stand family dinners. She raised her gaze and regarded him. It seems we have reached a balance. Nicholas lifted his cup, mimicking the gesture of a toast. To our collective downfall. With a soft sigh, Lucy raised her cup and gently clinked it against his. To our collective downfall. The issue was that the more time she spent with Nicholas, the more difficult it became to recall that this was merely a performance. Lucy devoted the following days to contemplating the merits of accepting Nicholas's proposal. She endeavored to approach the situation with logic. Staying at Nicholas's house for a bit wouldn't be such a big deal. He had already promised her that she would have her own space, and beneath it all, she understood that the arrangement was not meant to endure indefinitely. Yet the uncertainty remained. Was she able to maintain the boundary between reality and illusion? It was then that Nicholas extended an invitation for dinner at his home that evening, indicating that a conversation was necessary. Lucy consented, and shortly after the appointed hour, she found herself at the entrance of his apartment. He opened the door, clad in a button-up shirt with the top few buttons undone, a sight that should be deemed unlawful as it distracted her from focusing. Step inside, he invited, moving aside to allow her passage. Lucy entered the room and surveyed her surroundings. She had visited this place previously, yet she had never truly focused on the finer points. The apartment was expansive, yet it exuded a warm, inviting atmosphere. Nicholas strolled into the kitchen and picked up 2 wine glasses. Have you come to a conclusion? He extended his hand, offering one to her. Lucy grasped the glass, inhaling deeply before she responded. Indeed, I will take up residence for a short while. Nicholas arched an eyebrow. Is there no emotional manipulation involved? He smiled, free from any emotional manipulation. You'll adapt to it more quickly than you realize. Lucy felt a twinge of uncertainty, yet she was on the brink of discovery. In the days that followed, she gathered her belongings, and by the week's end, she had officially moved into Nicholas' house. The transition proved to be easier than she had anticipated, but cohabiting? Indeed, that unfolded into a different narrative altogether. Nicholas approached everything with a careful and systematic mindset. He had a fondness for schedules and routines, and it appeared he was unfamiliar with instant coffee, as his coffee machine resembled something out of a NASA rocket manual in complexity. In contrast, Lucy favored robust, quick coffee, enjoyed the freedom of no fixed schedules, and was thoroughly dismayed to find that Nicholas meticulously arranged his clothes by color and type. On the first morning, when Lucy entered the kitchen clad in a baggy hoodie and her hair in disarray, Nicholas paused for a moment, then remarked, "I knew you had a relaxed style, but this takes it to an entirely different level." Lucy settled into her seat and picked up a slice of toast. "I opened my eyes to a new day. I'm all dressed and prepared to embark on the day ahead. That's already a victory." Nicholas chuckled and took a seat opposite her. "Greetings in your new abode, Lucy." She took a bite of the toast, her eyes narrowing as she fixed her gaze on him. "If I come across a list of house rules stuck to the fridge, I'm done with this place." Nicholas lifted his hands. "Freedom reigns. Here are some simple guidelines." With a weary sigh, Lucy reached for her coffee. This promises to be quite intriguing. In an instant, without even knowing it, Lucy made a move that would alter the course of her life forever. Though she repeatedly reassured herself that it was merely a fabricated setup, cohabiting with Nicholas made that deception increasingly tangible. Lucy never envisioned herself residing in a billionaire's mansion, much less that this billionaire would be none other than Nicholas Scott. In the initial days, she made an effort to remain as unobtrusive as she could, steering clear of any circumstances that might render their cohabitation even more peculiar than it already felt. However, she soon came to understand that it was unattainable. Initially, it was due to Nicholas's constant presence. He mentioned that he dedicated a significant amount of time to his work and didn't have the opportunity to be at home very often. Strangely, he always appeared to have an abundance of time to playfully provoke her. "Is it a habit of yours to leave your socks scattered about like this?" he inquired, arms crossed, his gaze fixed on Lucy's feet, which rested comfortably bare on the sofa. "They are not dispersed. They are thoughtfully composed." Lucy responded, her gaze fixed on the captivating show unfolding before her. "Ah, I understand now. Is modern art really just about socks tossed on the floor now?" She seized a pillow and feigned throwing it at him. "You pulled me into this house. Now face the repercussions." Nicholas chuckled and settled beside her. "I anticipated a touch more elegance. You were already familiar with me prior to bringing me on board, Nicholas. You ought to have been aware of what you were stepping into." He merely offered a smile. And Lucy noticed that their playful exchanges were beginning to feel oddly effortless. That posed a challenge. The greatest difficulty of cohabitation wasn't the act of feigning a romantic relationship for the sake of others. It was the sensation that began to envelop Lucy when they found themselves in solitude. Consider that evening, for instance. An invitation had arrived for a charity event organized by the Scott family. It would be yet another one of those elaborate events where Lucy would have to wear a smile and feign belonging to that realm. Yet, on this occasion, there was an unmistakable sense of change in the air. As she put the final touches on her appearance, the sound of Nicholas calling her name reached her ears. "Lucy." She exited the room and discovered him poised in the hallway, clad in a dapper suit. He clutched an object in his hands, a hint of uncertainty flickering across his expression. "Hello there." Nicholas approached and presented her with a small box meant for you. With a furrowed brow, Lucy grasped the item and lifted the lid with deliberate slowness. Within lay a finely crafted necklace adorned with a tiny, glimmering pendant. "What is happening?" "I thought it would complement your dress," he remarked nonchalantly. Lucy regarded him with a wary eye. This was not included in our agreement. I understand. So, what's the reason for handing this over to me? Nicholas took a brief moment to gather his thoughts before responding. Simply because I desired to. Lucy experienced a constriction in her chest. She hoped this was merely a performance, that he was simply attempting to enhance the illusion. Yet, there was an unmistakable depth in his gaze that suggested it was far more than that. She found herself at a loss with that feeling. The charity event turned out to be a great success. Nicholas and Lucy circulated through the crowd, exchanging pleasantries with notable figures and stopping for a handful of photographs. Lucy was beginning to acclimate to the inquisitive glances and murmurs surrounding them. What truly astonished her was the unwavering presence of Nicholas beside her. This time, he was genuinely engaged, not merely putting on a facade. He grasped her hand with confidence, chuckled at her humor with ease, and even fixed her necklace discreetly when he believed no one was observing. Yet Lucy perceived. In that moment, she came to understand the true issue at hand. She found herself enveloped in the warmth of affection. Yet she was unable to. This constituted an agreement. A falsehood. A situation that will come to a close shortly. What was it that kept her heart in the dark about that? Upon returning home that evening, the quietness that enveloped them seemed to carry a new weight. It wasn't unpleasant, yet it bore a weight of an indefinable essence that Lucy couldn't quite grasp. She slipped off her shoes and sank onto the couch, utterly spent. I have no desire to ever wear high heels again. Nicholas offered a warm smile as he settled beside her. Your performance today was impressive. That's something you often mention. Indeed, that is the case. With a heavy sigh, Lucy turned her gaze towards him. Nicholas turned his gaze to her. In that instant, Lucy understood she was on the brink of a misstep. Yet she found herself unable to hold back. This is merely a contract, correct? Nicholas paused in silence, contemplating his response. Absolutely. Yet his expression conveyed a different message. Lucy yearned to trust his response. She sought to reassure herself that this remained merely a game. Suddenly, without any preamble, Nicholas raised his hand and tenderly brushed a lock of hair away from her face. It was a subtle act. Uncomplicated. Yet it was sufficient to send Lucy's heart into a frenzy. She had to escape that place. Good night, Nicholas, she said swiftly. She stood up and made her way directly to the bedroom, determined to avoid any actions that might complicate matters further. For if she lingered even a moment longer, she was certain she would lose her resolve. And she understood that, this time, there would be no way to feign its reality. Lucy remained awake throughout the night. She writhed in her sheets, battling the relentless surge of thoughts that overwhelmed her mind. With each flutter of her eyelids, Nicholas's visage danced before her mind's eye. The manner in which he grasped her hand during the occasion. He moved her necklace around her neck, completely unaware of the gesture's significance. The piercing gaze he directed at her as he tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear. This should not hold any significance. Yet it happened. And therein lay the issue. As dawn broke, she made her way out of the bedroom, discovering Nicholas in the kitchen. He was already dressed, sipping coffee, as though it were merely another ordinary day. However, for Lucy, it was not. She inhaled deeply before uttering a word. It's time for a conversation. Nicholas arched an eyebrow and placed his cup on the table with a deliberate motion. This seems quite significant. Simply put, it is. Lucy remarked, her arms crossed defiantly. The agreement is coming to a close. He paused in silence, simply observing her. Indeed. What comes next? Shall we return to our usual routines? Nicholas inclined his head ever so slightly. Is that truly what you desire? Lucy experienced a tightness in her throat. That was precisely the inquiry she had been attempting to evade. The agreement would conclude. She would return to her existence. And Nicholas would continue to be the elusive billionaire he had always been. That's the way it ought to be. What was it about the thought of departure that caused her heart to feel heavy? She compelled a smile. Absolutely. That was the agreement, wasn't it? Nicholas held his gaze steady on her. If that's your perspective. Something in his tone caused Lucy to pause. It felt as though he was anticipating her to utter something more. Yet she was unable to. For her, acknowledging her desire for more was synonymous with embracing uncertainty. Lucy had always struggled when it came to taking chances. The days that followed slipped away in a blur. Lucy attempted to persuade herself that all was well. She continued with her daily rituals, pushing aside the heaviness in her chest that surfaced whenever she contemplated the day she would need to gather her belongings and depart from the house. Nicholas, in contrast, appeared to be more aloof. He remained gentle, continuing to fulfill his role flawlessly. Yet, an undeniable weight lingered in the atmosphere. It felt as if they were both aware that a shift was imminent. Yet, neither was willing to be the first to acknowledge it. On the eve of the contract's conclusion, Nicholas finally shattered the stillness. "Have you gathered your belongings?" Lucy gazed at him from the other side of the room. "Not at this moment." Nicholas gave a slow nod, remaining silent. She felt the urge to inquire whether he wished for her to remain. If this had merely been a game for him, or if, like her, he too was grappling with something that loomed larger than either of them. Instead, she simply smiled and replied, "I'll be leaving tomorrow morning." Nicholas gave a brief nod again. "Understood." The following morning, as Lucy completed the task of packing her suitcase, a knock echoed at the door. With a deep breath, she prepared to open it. It was Nicholas. He stood there, hands tucked into his pockets, wearing an expression that left Lucy puzzled. "Are you truly departing?" he inquired, his tone softer than normal. Lucy attempted to smile, yet her efforts fell flat. "That was the intention from the beginning, wasn't it?" Nicholas's gaze lingered on her. "Adjustments are necessary." Lucy sensed her heart pounding in her chest. "Nicholas." He advanced a step. "Please provide me with an answer to this question. If I were to request your presence, would you remain?" Lucy parted her lips, yet silence enveloped her. This was the moment. The instant she had been evading since the moment she understood this was more than merely an agreement. She could easily respond with a yes. She could acknowledge that, at a certain moment, this ceased to be a mere pretense for her. But what if Nicholas was merely inquiring out of a sense of pride? What if, the moment she agreed, he suddenly discovered that this wasn't what he truly desired? She had to play it safe. With a reluctant smile, she responded. "Nicholas. Let's not complicate things further." For a fleeting moment, a spark lit up his eyes, yet he merely nodded with deliberation. "I comprehend." He departed without uttering another word. Lucy shut her eyes, grappling with a pain in her chest that she was reluctant to acknowledge. With her suitcase in hand, she inhaled deeply and stepped out into the world. The subsequent days passed in a haze. Lucy returned to her familiar routine, yet everything felt off. Her apartment seemed more confined. The coffee she once adored no longer held the same flavor for her. And all things, without exception, brought Nicholas to her mind. She attempted to brush it aside. She attempted to convince herself that it was just part of the ordinary flow of life. Ultimately, they had shared countless moments together. It was clear that adjusting to life without him would require some time. Let's enjoy ourselves with those who merely skim through the comments. Write Coca-Cola in the comments. Only those who have journeyed to this point will truly comprehend. Let us proceed with the narrative. However, just a week later, while she strolled past the window of a jewelry store in the mall, something captured her attention. The pendant. The very necklace Nicholas had bestowed upon her the evening prior to the charity event. She paused, gazing at the piece, her heart constricting with emotion. In that moment, clarity dawned upon her. She had erred. Lucy was quick to act. She hailed a taxi and headed directly to Nicholas' residence. The journey felt extended, and her heart raced within her chest. Upon her arrival, she inhaled deeply before pressing the doorbell. The minutes stretched endlessly until, at last, the door swung open. Nicholas was present. The identical piercing gaze. The identical poised stance. Yet, for a fleeting instant, Lucy caught a glimpse of astonishment reflected in his gaze. "Is that you, Lucy? What brings you here?" She inhaled deeply, attempting to collect her scattered thoughts. But then she understood that a lengthy discourse was unnecessary. She stepped forward, raised her face, and pressed her lips to his. This one felt unlike the initial kiss. There existed neither urgency nor instinct. Something genuine existed. As she drew back, her gaze met his, and a smile graced her lips. "I wish to remain." For a brief instant, Nicholas remained silent. He simply observed her, as though he needed to confirm her presence was genuine. At last, a smile broke across his face. "It seems it took you some time to come to that conclusion, didn't it?" Lucy chuckled, a sense of buoyancy washing over her for the first time in days. "You might have mentioned it earlier. I anticipated you would come to that realization independently." She folded her arms across her chest. "What would have happened if I hadn't arrived?" Nicholas gave a nonchalant shrug. "I would have pursued you." Lucy beamed. "Is that so?" "Truly. Falling for you was never part of my plan, Lucy. Yet, it occurred." Her heart softened. "I'm pleased it occurred." And then, for the first time, their lips met, free from any pretense. Lucy could never have foreseen the unexpected twist her life would take. She initiated this entire scenario merely to evade an uncomfortable predicament. At this moment, her heart was entirely captivated by Nicholas Scott. The past few months with him had truly been a whirlwind of emotions. Despite the absence of a binding agreement to remain united, Lucy continued to share her life with Nicholas. Initially, she was apprehensive that it might merely be a transient illusion. Yet, with each passing day, she came to understand that it was not the case. It truly happened. To her utter astonishment, Nicholas appeared increasingly at ease with the notion of including her in his life. Naturally, cohabitation remained a whirlwind of activity. Lucy continued to leave her socks scattered throughout the apartment, while Nicholas persisted in arranging the clothes by color. Yet, against all odds, it succeeded. She had never experienced such joy. Unbeknownst to her, Nicholas was scheming something in the shadows. A grand scheme. And it featured a particularly lustrous ring. It began with an air of intrigue. Nicholas began to behave oddly. He engaged in enigmatic phone conversations, appeared deep in contemplation, and at times, departed without disclosing his destination. Lucy attempted to brush it aside. Perhaps he was simply navigating some challenges at his job. However, following a week filled with questionable actions, she resolved that it was time to delve deeper. Thus, she took the most rational course of action. She trailed behind Nicholas. Wearing oversized sunglasses and an enormous coat that gave her the appearance of a comedic character rather than a genuine spy, Lucy followed him through the bustling streets of New York, determined to uncover his secret. He came to a halt at a jewelry store. Lucy nearly experienced a small heart attack. He was purchasing a ring. If it were an engagement ring, she might have needed to feign a swoon just to buy herself a moment to absorb the news. However, Nicholas chose not to enter the store. He conversed with someone at the door before departing. With her curiosity piqued beyond the point of retreat, Lucy resolved to step inside. The saleswoman welcomed her with a courteous smile. "How may I assist you?" Lucy offered a tentative smile. Indeed, a tall and strikingly handsome man, with a certain methodical grace, just strolled past. Was he making a purchase? The saleswoman blinked several times. Are you referring to Nicholas Scott? Lucy managed to put on a smile. Indeed, that's the one. The lady chuckled. He was orchestrating something extraordinary. Lucy's heart raced with excitement. Is it something truly extraordinary, like really extraordinary? The saleswoman wore a knowing smile. You'll find out shortly. Lucy exited the store, her palms clammy and her heart pounding in her chest. All that remained for her was to wait. The upcoming weekend, Nicholas extended an invitation to her for a special dinner. Lucy felt a growing sense of doubt. As he led her into an exquisitely elegant restaurant overlooking the sprawling cityscape, she sensed that a momentous occasion was on the horizon. Indeed, it happened. Following dinner, Nicholas led her to the rooftop of the building. The evening air whispered softly as the twinkling lights of the city danced beneath them. Lucy surveyed her surroundings, a wave of emotion washing over her as she took in the breathtaking view. This is truly exquisite, Nicholas. He grinned. Not quite as stunning as you. Lucy opened her eyes wide. Wow, that was surprisingly enchanting. There are a couple more delightful surprises in store for you. Before she had the chance to inquire about his meaning, Nicholas lowered himself to one knee. Lucy stood still. Her heart raced with such intensity that she felt on the brink of losing consciousness. Nicholas retrieved a small box from his pocket and carefully opened it, unveiling a breathtaking ring. Lucy raised her hands to her face. Oh my goodness. Nicholas beamed with delight. Lucy Cooper, I never intended to develop feelings for you, yet here we are. You disrupted my routine, brought laughter when I least expected it, and revealed that life can be enjoyable even amidst the chaos. Lucy sensed her eyes welling up with tears. That was surprisingly delightful. He chuckled softly. My charming and delightful Lucy, will you take my hand in marriage? Lucy was overwhelmed with emotion, momentarily losing her ability to breathe. Yet, true to form, her intuition drove her to transform the moment into something extraordinary. Rather than replying in a conventional manner, she feigned a state of deep contemplation. I'm uncertain. Are you prepared for a future in which your garments will no longer be flawlessly arranged by hue? Nicholas arched an eyebrow. I have come to terms with that reality. And where will my ever-expanding collection of socks, scattered throughout the apartment, find its next home? I embraced the challenge ahead of me. Lucy chuckled, dabbing at a tear that had escaped her eye. It seems I'm left with no other option. Nicholas arched an eyebrow. So, is that a yes? She beamed with joy. Absolutely. He rose to his feet, lifted her effortlessly into his embrace, and twirled her joyfully before pressing his lips to hers. In that instant, Lucy understood that kiss stood apart from the initial one entirely. This time, certainty prevailed. They truly existed. The wedding unfolded as a magnificent display. The ceremony unfolded in the open air, amidst a delightful garden adorned with white blooms and shimmering lights. Nicholas, clad in a perfectly tailored suit, approached Walter with a smile that caused Lucy's heart to flutter. As she strolled down the aisle, the gentle melody enveloped her, and she felt as though she were experiencing the most exquisite moment of her existence. As she approached the altar, Nicholas gently grasped her hand. Your beauty is truly captivating. Lucy beamed with delight. You're quite impressive in your own right. The vows were deeply moving. Nicholas reflected on how he never anticipated that an unforeseen kiss would alter the course of his life. Lucy shared how he showed her that love can be genuine even without perfection. And then at last, they proclaimed their vows. As Nicholas kissed her once more, Lucy realized that the ties of contract, plan, or agreement had vanished. It was just the two of them. In unity. For eternity. What are your thoughts on the tale of Lucy and Nicholas? Share your reflections in the comments section. Please provide a rating for this story on a scale from 0 to 10. How would you rate it? Join our channel and tap the bell to stay updated on all our narratives. Don't hesitate to explore more heartfelt tales by clicking here on the final screen.